and you produce people that give excellent results. That's EQ. And I do feel this can bring a lot of permanence as well. We have been talking about diversity, change, but luckily for a lot of us, this is one thing that will not change. Sensitivity in teaching, sensitivity in handling your students is something that will always make you an inspirational teacher, something they'll remember. That is one aspect that can bring permanence always. And the 2 days, I've been hearing a lot, we have been talking a lot about the what of teaching and the how of teaching, content and methodology. That's extremely important, yes. But I think parallel to both these is also the who of teaching, because who we are can actually ruin or make a curriculum. You can give me the best of the document, and when I walk into my classroom, you don't know how I'm handling it. So I think who we are or how we inspire our teachers or how we look at our own profession is extremely important. And that's what brings in the inspiration or the inspirational teacher. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've prepared 4 questions for each of the panelists, or 1 question for each of the 4 panelists, and we'll run through those, and then we'll open it up to the audience for more questions. And the first question is for you, Syed. The question is, can any teacher become an accomplished teacher, an expert teacher, an inspirational teacher? And if not, why not? And if so, how?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Teaching comes from the heart. And if you go back to inspiration, teacher has to have a myriad of qualities to inspire. Some of them are personality driven, some may be acquired through practice. So I really can't give you a hard and fast answer to that. My own personal observation and my own experience leads me to believe that, yes, with time, with proper systems in place, with proper evaluation, within a good system, in general, you can become a very good teacher. That means that you are led through a very high level of competence in terms of the subject area that you're talking about. You are well taught as to how to evaluate the response of students. But then there are certain personal issues like how well is your level of empathy with the students? Do you understand them? Are you on their wavelength? Because you see, students, especially in their teen years, have very different emotions within them. They may show them through anger, by detachment, discontent, or other behavioral issues. And rather than react to them, a teacher, an inspirational teacher, has to get behind the scene and to understand where that problem is coming from and try to address it that way. Of course, oratory plays a very large role. You have to be extremely good in terms of trying to communicate, because that's what you're doing. Even with modern skills and modern technology like overhead projectors and other multimedias that you may have, at the end of the day, if it is only that, students have recourse to a vast library of books which are excellently written, and they can go back to them and get whatever they want out of them. It is the explaining part which does the trick. And I feel that at the end of the day, yes and no, again. You cannot really teach a teacher to become an inspirationally brilliant teacher. A very good teacher, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's assume that a teacher, if we assume that a teacher does have the knowledge and the skills and the dispositions, and they become at some level inspirational or accomplished, how is it that we recognize the best teachers? Do we use perhaps student test scores, portfolio? Do we test their content knowledge? So let me ask you this, Kanwal. How do we recognize the best teachers?
You said test scores and?
Test scores. Well, by test scores, I mean...
No. What were the other 2 things? Test scores, portfolio, and? Portfolio,
or do we assess the teacher's content knowledge?
Content knowledge. Let me just put portfolio and content knowledge together, and I feel that, let me quote the remark of a student here. This was for his teacher, and he said, "Who you are speaks so loudly that I cannot understand what you say, and I cannot hear a word of what you say. So you may have the portfolio, and you may have the subject knowledge, but then you should have the right attitude as well." So I think, yes, portfolio is important, definitely. Subject knowledge is important, definitely. Command is important, but I think most important of all, something that you did not give me as an option, is attitude. I feel attitude is extremely important. Because if I look back and think of my teachers, the ones that I hated the most were not poor scholars. They were good teachers. But I just remember some personal maybe incidents that made me hate mathematics. So I do feel attitude comes first when you're actually judging a teacher.
Thank you very much. A few moments ago, Dr. Goodwin talked about the paradox involved in education where we get the best teachers, they become expert, accomplished, whatever, and then they leave. So how is it that we can keep the best teachers where they belong in the classroom? And I'll ask this to Mr. Asim Yakub.
That's easy. You could pay us better.
Okay.
But I'd like to add to that. I'd like to add a little academic note to that. I believe it was Hertzberg in his theory of motivation. Somewhere he mentioned that if you want people to do a good job, then give them a good job to do. You're saying how to keep the best teachers in the classroom? I assume that doesn't necessarily mean the same classroom in the same place. But to keep them in the classroom, to continue teaching, if they are already doing their best, chances are they love what they do anyway. So it's a very good match between their skill set and their preferred job. So there's really not much that the system needs to impose in that case. I don't see what the system as such can do to make them stay there. If it comes to that, then perhaps it's not the right match between the person and their skill set and the type of job.
Okay, thank you very much. The last question obviously is for you, Zahra. How is it that we can capitalize on the expertise of our best teachers for the good of the entire system?
I think in two ways. The first is something that as a student, as an ex-student of Beaconhouse School system, I've already seen the system do. Today I had a workshop with one of the teachers, one teacher who is now risen in the ranks and become one of your teacher trainers, Miss Dogar, who used to be, when I was in Beaconhouse Defense, she was an English teacher, O-level English teacher. So recognizing expert teachers within your own system and giving them opportunity and the encouragement to capitalize upon their skill, to learn more, to develop professionally, and then using them within the system, not only as trainers, but also as role models as to, hey, you know, this is what I, as Zahra, can aspire to be later on, 20, 30 years down the road. That's one way. The other way, I think, and I will bring that, link it back to the whole passion and making it a passionate profession argument, is that you can do that by, you can capitalize on their expertise by A, first recognizing them, and B, then in Pakistan perhaps, using them as role models within a particular school, having in-house training workshops. If a head feels that one particular teacher has the characteristics that he or she is getting good results, is popular with the students, and is willing to work, think out of the box and use different techniques, then perhaps it falls on the head's shoulders also that they should encourage that teacher to help her peers within the school. And I think anyone who's an inspirational teacher and has a passion to learn would not mind who their students are. If I'm teaching A-levels right now, 10 years down the road, if I'm teaching teachers, As long as I have the passion to communicate my knowledge and my love for education, and that will that helps me wake up in the morning and enjoy it when it's my time for class, then I think you can use that expertise at any level, be it primary, secondary, A-level, or as a teacher trainer. I hope I'm not taking too much time, but the other thing that we've been talking about, I'm going to try and bring this back to Pakistani context. We've had, the last time this conference took place, there was an earthquake. This time there have been floods. I am, being a product of this system, perhaps I'm biased, but I absolutely love it. I've had the choice of going towards the grammar school and going back to Canade, but I somehow keep coming back to Beaconhouse, despite a 3-year hiatus in between. I just could not settle in another system somehow. I feel that we do a great deal for our society, but right now, if we could perhaps, Mr. Qasim Kasuri is sitting here, lend our teacher trainers, talk to the government, lend our teacher trainers, lend our teachers into the into the government schools, and sort of create a program where we can help them as well, give our expertise over to them, because unfortunately we are a country where A, people do come into teaching by default, and B, they don't have the skill or the opportunity to train themselves as much as we all do. So perhaps that is one way we can truly capitalize Pakistan's teaching potential.
Thank you very much for your passion. I appreciate that. At this point, we're going to turn it over to the audience, and I'm going to implore you to please limit your limit to your name, your preface to just your name, and then go right to your question, please. And then after hearing the question, if one of our distinguished panelists would like to field it, they can raise their hand, and if they don't, I'll pick somebody. Your name and your question.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm not going to ask a question. I just want to add to your announcement a little bit. I just wanted to say that, as you may have noticed, the panel consisted of O and A level teachers. The reason we are opening this panel discussion to the House is not only to get your questions, but also to give an opportunity to the early years and primary school teachers to speak. We would value your comments very much. Please make a comment or ask a question, but do raise your hands, say your name, and ask your question or make a comment. Thank you.
I'm Vikas Yusuf, and as the panelists, they were talking about that the social acceptance of a teacher that deals greatly with how inspirational teacher you can be. And we have got certain points about that. But what I feel that if the society starts making respect as a teacher, it may not generate inspirational ability in you as a teacher. Because if we look into that and getting all the rewards, that's not everything, because the whole of the nation has been inspired by Master Ayub. Now, that is one of the things where even you are not getting good rewards, good social status, but inspiration, to me, that is more towards the internal ability. Aspiration, then move to the inspiration. How you would take?